woke to find myself laying on the ground, clutching the side of my stomach where my skin had been punctured by the monster that held me captive. I didn't know if I had it in me to fight. I had been tortured by this thing, and all my strength had left my body. I hadn't eaten in at least 3 days. So you could say I was reluctant to make myself noticeable. My strength had been gone for far too long. I need to eat, but there is no food left for me. I have nothing but the clothes on my back, and even then, the fabric on my clothes have been torn from the abuse this monster has put me through. Now, I'm willing to tell the story, but be wary. This will be very graphic. I was on my way home from work, and I worked in a coffee shop. It was quite busy and not very busy most days. Excuse me, it was quiet and not very busy most days. However, we did manage to have our busy moments. I worked nights on weekdays, and I worked days on weekends. And I also managed to go to school as well. It was hard to keep up with school and a job, but I managed. Usually when I got home from work, I still had enough energy to do things. Today, however, was quite odd. I felt like I had no energy at all upon awakening from sleep, and I felt drained of all life within me, and I still got up, went to school, and went to work after school regardless. It's what a responsible person does. Then the ride home from work happened. You see, I was driving and the windows were down, and the breeze was coming in. I was listening to my favorite music, and I was finally relaxed. Still tired, but I was relaxed. Then, on the intersection between two roads, my car was hit by an old Buick, and I immediately was knocked unconscious from the impact of my head hitting the airbag. My face was burned to black, and a piece of glass is still stuck in my arm from where a piece of glass broke off of the rearview mirror and made its way into my arm. When I woke, I was still lying on the ground. My car was flipped over now, and I was staring at this man in front of me. I saw cowboy boots at the end of his denim bootcut jeans. He stood there for 10 minutes talking to himself. He sounded like he was trying to decide something, but he was also panicking in the process. He finally dug down, and I looked at him, dead in the face, and I screamed as loud as I can. And I saw his face, and realized this thing was not a normal person. He had a charcoal-like face. He had blazing red and black eyes, and he had a very, very small mouth that took up at least half an inch across his face. He looked at me again and spoke in a language. He walked away and then debated some more. Terrified, I jumped out of the vehicle and tried to run. We were out in the country, so there was a ton of woods, but no houses. Only farmland where I was at. I tried avoiding an open field where I could easily be spotted and headed straight towards the woods. I ran for at least 15 to 20 minutes until I came upon this small cabin made of metal, and I noticed a piece of scrap metal with bloodstains on it. And I gently looked down, and I picked up the piece of metal, and I then saw boots next to the piece of metal, and looked up to see him standing there right in front of me. He grabbed me and knocked me upside the head, and I fell and passed out. Then I woke up in this metal room. Nothing but metal surrounds me. And I panicked at first, but then decided to calm down, realizing that in order to survive, I needed to keep a level head. So I waited patiently. Then he finally came. knocking with 2 gentle taps and 1 last violent tap to try and shake me up. I jumped at the last knock, but remained calm. He quickly walked in, and I just sat there. Looking at him, I spoke softly. "It's alright. Everything is fine." He didn't understand me, which I was okay with. I then proceeded to get up and walk to him, and he whacked me across the face with the back of his rotted hand. He then proceeded to kick me while I was down. 3 disoriented rights were spoken to his pupil. I was his pupil. 3 disoriented strikes to my ribs were then attacked. He looked down at me and spoke in English, and it seemed unusual. He didn't understand it before, but now he said, "This is your home. Anything you have had is gone, and any future you thought you had never existed." He then walked away. Now you are all caught up, so please, if you find me, if you are even able to see me or know my location, help me.